Do you think that level of education for a potential mate gives a sense of attractiveness?
Yes, I do. Not solely because it's about them. I hate to say it like that. But because the fact that I went to school when I had several people tell me I couldn't do it and I shouldn't do it and I wouldn't succeed. And I overcame that, and I wouldn't have my job without it now. And I've seen how much, not only did it educate me in my field, but it educated me in a lot of other aspects in life. I got some of my best friends. I learned a lot about life and about people. And like you said, when you get in these courses and things of 300 people, you learn a lot about different perspectives, and you learn to really become a little more rounded about everything, and a little more, I should say, antiquated about that you're not the only person in the world and that other opinions matter and things like that. So education is super important to me. Not only for the fact that I think it builds you in your field and it helps you there, but also in becoming a better person altogether. I think that education is extremely important, and it's something that I look for in people.
It makes sense that if you're a runner and you really value fitness, that you might want to get together with somebody who values fitness or who loves the outdoors. And if you're a person who has taken learning very seriously and had a career path that involves, higher education, that you're going to value that in someone else. It really does. It makes sense to me. It's interesting. I think I'm trying to give my opinion. I'm wondering, I have to admit, my husband's, his intellect, it was very, 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 and is very attractive. And so I do know what you mean by that. I know that some people haven't had the same opportunities, and so they don't necessarily get to go to college, or maybe they do something else, or they didn't have the wherewithal to go to college. I don't think that college is for everyone.
No, I agree.
But I think that what you're saying is compatibility. You're going to be more compatible with somebody who's college educated. I rarely meet couples, or I rarely have clients who one person is hasn't been to college and the other person has. But I will say I'm starting to see it a little more lately. And I think because available men, in that book I was showing you, I'm not going to say the title, but the book I was showing you, that again, if we've got men who aren't competing as well, they have higher rates of dropping out of high school, black, white, whatever. It's just across the board, that it's going to be interesting that the availability of educated men, what that's going to look like in 25 years. I'm fascinated by this kind of stuff. Like, what does that mean? It's like, I geek out on that kind of stuff, which is, you guys are probably like, this is so boring. But for me, it's interesting. I sat in the hot tub, I think a week ago, and I was reading for 2 hours. My husband was like, you're going to prune up in there. Yeah. That's what I was reading about, the status of marriage and what's happening. And it's fascinating. And yeah, having someone who is compatible is so important, and it's going to be interesting to see. It'll happen probably after you're married, but what it'll be like if you decide to have kids, what will it look like for your daughter? Because so many women will be outperforming men in college and in higher education.
Yeah, my daughter would be crazy to even think about right now. Her world, wow. I hope that, in a way, I shouldn't say that my thinking is wrong, but I hope that in her world, that if it is like that, then she has a different mindset.
Yeah, I hope honestly that we decide to do something about it before it gets to a crisis point and figure out what's happening. I think that schools, and this is like a whole nother topic that I could talk on, and again, this is my geek session, so I'll say this and then I'll stop it. But I do think that schools now are not habitable for boys, just because school teachers are so overtaxed with so many. They have large classrooms, they don't have time. Boys are more kinesthetic, and so it's like Johnny needs to sit down so I can. But and girls, just they're less likely to have ADHD, attention spans are a little stronger, and so it's not ideal for boys. And so I think this is my prediction. I think in the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to see a real shift. How do we make schools more habitable for males so that we are seeing more males in higher education, et cetera, going on to schools? It's really, again, it's a little pet peeve. I have 2 sons, and I just think it's really interesting stuff. So I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me geek out for just a minute, which is but I love all this modern love. What are people doing about it? What are their thoughts? What's their playbook? What do they want from a relationship? And so why do you think it's so hard for women to find love?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I'm trying to speak for all women. I think it's really hard to find somebody these days who genuinely wants love. I think, and especially my generation and my age, there are a lot of people who aren't looking for love. They're looking for other things. So we'll just keep it at that. And
booty calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Hookups.
You think of
that's my favorite. It's like, oh,
Tinder,
you met a random stranger and had sex with them.
Bumble. Those are all things that have come into my generation, and that's exactly what most of them are for. So it puts the idea of love on the back burner.
Yeah, and technology again, and hookups. I love that people, my favorite is, that person put their hands on me. I'm like, you mean they beat you up? Nobody wants it. It's almost like they try to make it more palatable.
Yeah.
Hookups too. Oh, we hooked up. I'm like, oh, so you met somebody and you had sex with them?
Yeah. Let's say it out loud. Yeah.
That's really what it
happened.
is.
Yeah. I feel like they downplay it, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. It's okay to do that. I just don't want people to. I think it makes it easier, and I think you're right. I think less people are falling in love, and they want more hookups without commitment, without intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you're so awesome, Ashley.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I did ask you a lot more than 10 questions because it just got interesting.
It's
Again,
okay.
You let me geek out. I really appreciate that. And thanks for being here. Ashley has been such a trooper. She has been here all day at my pad, and she's just been really generous with her time because she's extremely busy. And so thank you sincerely, thank you for being here. I know you gave up your day, and I really mean that. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I'm Chantel Cohen, and I hope you become one again. See you soon, guys. Subscribe to us. Go to Instagram, Facebook, all that. Those of you who are on Facebook, I don't want to diss Facebook, but follow us if you're on Facebook, follow us if you're on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Talk to you soon.